Rarely do you read a book and you sit there and you say, "Oh my gosh, I have to start implementing these things because it is life changing." But I'll tell you what, this book, Value Creation Family, I'm a dad, I got a family, I read this book, and I immediately started implementing some things. Welcome, Lee Benson. Great to have you with us.
Carrie, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Oh man, listen, is this your third book now?
Yeah, and I'm in the middle of another book on leadership. But yeah, value creation family, it's so necessary. I mean,
It is.
it's all about helping families intentionally create value. And
Absolutely.
there's so much more that families can do, and it's actually easy to do. And once you get started, it even saves a lot of time for parents, which is great.
I meet super successful entrepreneurs, and we've all heard of the entrepreneur who wins at work. They're crushing it at work, and yet they go and look at their family, and their family's in a lot of trouble. And then you have the other situation where entrepreneurs are like, no, I want my family to be different than what I grew up with. And they're very intentional. But you have this whole movement happening. I'm going to show a few websites here, but I just want to show this dinnertable.com. Looks super fun. I know about this, but we're going to talk about this. But, how does the book affect the community, which affects, your movement in Arizona and now around the world?
Yeah, it's all about creating value holistically within the family. And there's a chapter in the book on family leadership in terms of driving this. And, I believe that every family member can develop into a strong leader for the family. In the holistic value creation, there's three different buckets. There's material, which is money. There's emotional energy, which is what it feels like to be in the family and elevating that. And there's spiritual value creation, which is all about connectedness, kids with themselves, uh,
Mm,
siblings, the rest of the family, extended family, communities. And I think something that a lot of folks miss is the value of being part of healthy, supportive communities. And it can be anything. It could be communities around animal causes. It could be the community at school. It could be, a trade association. It could be a martial art. There's several communities that I'm part of, and I leaned in to help all of them to create value. And it's been decades of being connected to these. And so the value is, when you do that right on the connectedness piece of this, the spiritual value creation, that opens you up to opportunities that most people don't have because they don't
mm.
lean into it and value it. So as a family, you can intentionally create value in the three different buckets. We show you how. I kind of go through the process in the book, and I'm living it with my family and living it with hundreds of other families in the communities that I get to lead, which is so cool. And and it gets better over time. It's like, enjoy the journey. It's fun. There's struggle. There's all kinds of stuff, with life, but
Sure.
we can incrementally get better. And managing expectations is just really important. It's not, I want it to be different for my kids, and I don't want this, and I should have done this. No, where are we at? And let's start taking steps forward, and let's do it as a family.
This was really born out of intense struggle. Like, as I read your book, and you got some great people over here. You got Lori, you got Tanisha, Elizabeth's joining on LinkedIn. Um, so a lot of cool people jumping in here. But this was born out of pain. Like, when I read your story, I say to myself, wow, um, you know, young age, like, isn't it pre-high school? You get kicked out, and like you literally have to get an apartment, get a job. Like, most people aren't even on
Mm.
their own for many years after. So take us into some of those painful places, because on the other side, you learned a lot of value creation at an early age.
Yeah. Well, by the time I was kicked out of the house at the beginning of my senior year, and I talk about this in the book, I already had a job. And I say I started my value creation journey at 6 years old, pulling weeds for 25 cents an hour. It was a neighbor that I didn't know, not a friend, not a family member, that unsolicited asked me to do that. And back in the, mid 60s, that's a lot of money, for a kid. You can get two candy bars back then and have change. And then that went on to shoveling snow. I grew up in Spokane, Washington, mowing lawns, paper routes, moved to Arizona,
Mm,
dishwasher, busboy, cook. And so, yeah, I got kicked out of the house. It was a Most families have their degree of dysfunction, 100% normal. Like
Yep.
everybody kind of does. But mine was toxic and in a lot of ways dangerous. Family members in and out of, prison for
Mm,
some really bad things in a few cases. And so it was actually good to get out of that. And I spent, one night in my truck. The next night I found somebody that needed a roommate. So I had an apartment. And the pain was, I think, just a misalignment of integrity and values and that kind of stuff. And it didn't feel great as a kid going through it. But by the time I was out of the house, I felt bad for my parents. I mean, how hard it must have been for them to live in that emotional space.
mm,
And I remember having the conversation with myself back then saying, they're having a hard enough time getting through life, let alone raising 5 kids. So it's super challenging. Now I'm going to go into the world and create value for me. And one of the things I'm trying to get across in the book is that once you start this value creation journey and you go through what I'm calling the value creation cycle, the struggle cycle, you identify capability you want, you struggle to achieve it. It elevates self-esteem. You've accomplished something. Don't stop there. Use it to create value. And then each time take bigger and bigger steps.
mm.
And when I graduated high school, I started in the negative financially. My parents actually charged up debt in my name because I had my social security number. And I
Wow.
work with a lot of low income families in the communities that I have the honor of leading. And I'm finding out that it's really common across the board for parents to do that when they're scared, they're afraid. Like, how can we get money? What are we gonna do to make ends meet? And they leverage their kids, credit, unfortunately.
Wow.
So I started negative, but I kept taking bigger steps on this value creation journey. And then fast forward to today, there's a whole lot between then and now. I've been able to generate multi-generational wealth in my short time here. And I had one parent give me some feedback yesterday, and she said that it's really inspiring that you can start from anywhere and go everywhere, even if it's negative. And a lot of parents out there, a lot of adults would say, I don't have anything. There's no use getting started now. It's like, no, get started. The best time to start, like they say in planting a tree, was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Just start and take steps and enjoy this journey.
That's so good. And I have been to your house several times. I've even brought my son last year. We were reminiscing of that. You made quite an impression on him, and he's now has a landscape business at the age of 20, and he's taking value creation very seriously. But I think yeah, yeah. Keegan, man, we still chat about
Tell
your
them I
business.
said hello. It's been a while.
I will. But many people, not many, some people inherit wealth, and they just get a nice check from mom or dad or whoever. You're the opposite. You didn't get that. In fact, you got negative. And, you know, for people to look at you now as a massive success, you've had business exits. And yet I see what you do. You go to families that don't have a lot of resources and you have groups. Explain what happens in some of those groups because I hear about this and
Mhm.
it's quite impressive.
Yeah, the opportunity for families is huge in all families, with the kids. And the challenges are different, whether it's low income or middle or extremely high income. The challenges are different, with the kids. And what we're setting up foundationally with the families, and if you go to dinnertable.com, that's where we're building a community of parents raising kids to create value and more intentionally create value as a family. What we're setting up foundationally, bless you, is
Thank you.
that we have one family meeting a month without fail, and we talk about our family goals and we refine those. We talk about everybody's job for the family. We talk about what it means to be a leader in the family, and we go over the budget from the previous month. And we like to make the home or family budget a team sport. Every child as young as 6 years old can have a line item on the budget they're responsible for, and it's just fun to do
Wow.
that. And there's all kinds of opportunities to save. So we start with that foundation that gets rolling for a couple of months, and then we have one-on-one sessions with each of our kids every month. Just once a month, we go through their goals, their job for the family, refine it if we need to. We go through their interests because we want to find all the kids' value creation superpowers, and we talk about with the kids, how do you want to show up as an adult someday? And
Mm,
then we just capture clearly an initial set, which really refines over time, but a set of beliefs, capabilities, and character traits that would make the kids most successful when they become an adult. So if you can start when they're 3, 4, 5 years old and intentionally work on that, they're going to be so much further ahead when they become
Oh,
an
yeah.
adult, way, way out there, right? But even if you don't start until 16 or 17, it's better to start then than not start at all. Because to your point earlier, a lot of kids, by the time they're 18, legally an adult in the United States, they're not ready for it. They go into what I call this emerging adult phase, and sometimes it can take another 10 or 12 years to really get there. I think
Sure.
our job as parents and just family in general, leadership within the family, is part of the job is to develop kids to be amazing value creating adults. And we
Mm.
can all get involved in that process. So you've got the family meeting, the one on one meeting with the kids, going through those things. And then every month, we meet as a community. There's virtual communities, they're in-person communities, and we go through deep dive topics like helping your kids find their value creation superpower, or legacy versus inheritance, financial competency, emotional energy value creation, leadership within the family. So every month we're doing these deep dives. We're building and strengthening community. And the thing I love about it is that the community members, they start developing relationships. And as each community grows, and we have one sort of global larger community, they can leverage that collective wisdom to go even faster.
Wow.
And so it's really cool. And just like, you've got a business, Carrie, and I still have a couple of companies that I run today, and many that I'm invested in. We're intentionally creating value there, and we network. I've got you as a mentor. I've got tons of folks that I get to work with. And when we're stuck on something or we want better ideas, we know who to go to. We built that network. Why should it be any different for a family? In a lot of ways,
Yeah.
running your household, running your family is like, it's no different than running a business. You and I have a profit and loss statement. We go through our balance sheets and all that. We have all these different things that we watch. Well, in the family, you have a certain amount of income, you have all these expenses, and hopefully there's something left over. And we learn how to manage, that a lot better and get better with money. What's the difference? Our income statement to me is nothing more than a checkbook. Here's how much money. Here's all the expenses. Here's the profit. Same thing in the household. And then one other thing I'd like to say is that families of different income levels, different challenges. I actually believe that the most untapped or pent up value creation potential in the United States is in the low income families, because the kids have the drive.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and when you have kids that have sort of an entitlement mindset because they have an upper middle income and above, household, they kind of get what they want. They expect that. But in the low income families, they don't have it, and they actually have the drive. That's where I came from. And all that struggle that I went through back then, I wouldn't change anything, because it really helped me be who I am today and shape all of that. And we talk about struggles in the book, as I get into it. And when I say we, it's like I've got this giant community and we're talking about this every month. It's so much fun. Changing our relationship with struggle is super important. Like,
Mm.
all the opportunity in the world is in the struggle. So to say if something gets hard or you're struggling, something's wrong. No, there's healthy struggles that are normal. There's unhealthy struggles that we wouldn't wish on anybody, but let's make the best of it. Let's learn what can we leverage out of that to create more value in the future. And then there's intentionally designed struggle to develop character, beliefs, and capabilities to help our kids be amazing adults. And
Mm.
that applies to us as adults too. So changing that relationship with struggle is really good. And what I've done is just keep increasing my comfort level with higher degrees of struggle. And then I can accomplish more. When everybody's freaking out about me because things are going sideways, I can stay so much calmer than I could, let's say, 20 or 30 years ago,
So good.
and work through that chaos to come out the other side creating value and not let anybody else take me off the game. And I get to work with them and develop them to move in that direction. Same thing for the family members and kids that want nothing to do with this, which is completely normal, especially if they start a little bit later. Within a year, they're kind of running most of it.
I
They want to
love
be
it.
part of it, and it's that foundational family meeting that we have without fail that kind of gets that to go. So there's so much here, but it's all around how do we create value more effectively as a family, and really and just enjoy the journey.
Right now, big athletics are going on. The Olympics. We just had the Super Bowl. I mean, you go down the list. What athlete would ever think of winning without struggle? Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right?
You have to put the work in. You actually have to do something.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
so
if
I
I
feel
go
don't
ahead.
you think kids are smart? Like, if everything's just handed to them, um, whether that's through the government or through wealthy parents, don't you think I think you this is actually in your book. It actually jacks up their self-worth.
Well, it does. And when I work with high school kids and I talk about the virtues of entrepreneurship, and I've spoken to thousands of them in smaller groups, so one of the questions I always ask, would you rather be self-reliant when you're an adult or dependent on someone else to support you financially, whether it's a government program or family or whatever? And 100% of the time they want to be self-reliant. Great. We actually have to do something. Now, a lot of healthy struggles because parents will say, and you mentioned it earlier, they don't want their kids to have to, go through what they did, et cetera. Uh, these are normal, healthy struggles to develop the kids. If we give them everything that they want, and it's a healthy struggle, but it's a tough struggle. The longer you do that, now they've got the struggle of transitioning from, sort of this entitlement, I get whatever I want, into self-reliance. And that can be quite a shock.
Yeah.
Kids 18, I got everything I wanted. Wait a minute, now I need to do everything myself. The parents finally say, okay, well, you're an adult now. That's a shock. So we want to work them into it. And I talk in the book about, at what age do you start having your kids pick up expenses? So there needs to be an age where they learn how to earn money. And the way they learn to value money is picking up their expenses. And it could start really small with buying birthday cards and then gifts and then maybe outings with friends and then vehicle expenses and all the way, ideally, by the time they're 18, if they want to, they could actually be self-reliant. I have a lot of friends my age that were by 17. And I mean, technically I was probably there by 16. It's not really that big a deal. We just don't make it a thing today. And so I think
Mm.
that's a really challenging struggle for a lot of kids to go from entitlement to self-reliance. But let's let them do that. And when they're struggling through it, I encourage parents to feel good that they're going through that developmental process, not feel bad because their kids are, emotionally a wreck for a little bit.
I love it. People love it too. Susan from Columbus, friend, this is so needed, she says. So here's a question.
Yeah.
What about the app? In other words, I go to dinnertable.com and there's this thing called an app. What happens when people get the app?
Yeah, what I'm encouraging, so you can join our community, our global community. We have parents from I think 67 countries and climbing that are in our dinner table family community.
Wow.
But you join, and then there's a community app that you go to, and you get a ton of resources. You see the calendar for the virtual events that are going on.
Yeah.
All of the individual communities have their separate space within this particular app, this community app that we have. So lots of resources, lots of collaboration with other families, and just an ongoing journey and learning. And these things we talk about. So let's see how this kind of lands on you, Carrie. As you and I have been building our businesses over the years,
Yeah.
we talk about sales and marketing as an example when we start. And then 10 years later, we're still talking about sales and marketing, right? And we're getting better. 20 years later, we're still talking about it. We're getting better at it, and things are constantly changing. It's the same thing with a family. There's no end to how we can improve how we manage money through budgeting, smarter investment sort of strategies, or just a basic plan, like just stick to this plan. And then there's no end to how we can get better at that. There's no end to how we can improve how we develop our kids around character, beliefs, and
Mm.
capabilities. And so every year we're touching on all of this stuff. sharing what's working and not working within the community, and taking bigger and bigger steps. So it's like this giant, it's like a mastermind, but a collaboration of parents and kids learning and sharing from each other and taking bigger steps. And one simple example, so I'm meeting with a large group of families. There's a bunch of kids in the room. And one kid says, "Hey, I'd love to start a business someday. And what do you think I should do?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you think you should do?" And he had two ideas, like could be this or could be that. So, well, let's brainstorm. And we had like 40 ideas within 15 minutes that he could
Wow.
run after. So that's the power of it, right? You're not alone. Let's leverage. This is the spiritual value creation piece, the connectedness piece. Let's leverage the community to have even more incredible ideas to move in a direction more effectively around creating value, materially, emotionally, or spiritually. And again,
Mm.
that's just one. Same thing for parents. I get a lot of parents in the low income communities. We just don't have enough money. We don't know what to do. We can't go. I said, okay, well, let's brainstorm through that. And we come up with a lot of ideas. You know, the goal is next year I want to increase my income by 10% or my net worth by 10% or something along those lines. The ideas flood in. And we had one kid, and this is, gosh, he was 16 when he started a business. And I talk about this in the book, Hanging Christmas Lights. He and his
Oh,
buddy
yeah.
made 38,000, I think it was. And I don't have the latest number. Here we are 4 seasons later, and they're out of high school. And their goal is to break $300,000. And this is in a 4-month session, right? Over Christmas, in terms of when they hang lights and take them down. And there were parents in the rooms like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to make that." And so here's two kids in 4 months,
So
each
good.
making $150,000 hanging Christmas lights, having a blast. It's their own business. But there's literally over 1,000 ideas like that that could be leveraged. And I always feel this tension of, gosh, I've never done that. Maybe I shouldn't start. It's probably not worth it. And I would keep going back, say, well, why don't you start? And I have some kids say, and even parents, I want to be where you're at. And I always respond, don't you wish you could earn where I'm at? Because you can't really be
Oh,
there without earning it and going through the steps. And I tell them, you look at my age today at 64. So this is my, gosh, since I left home, what is that? Like a 46, 47-year overnight success story. And I
right.
said, well, if money's the thing you want to talk about, and I think you have to do all of it in balance, but let's just look at material value creation. I spent the first 23 years getting ready to significantly accelerate the
Mm.
money that I earn. And then it just kept jumping, after that. And early on, like having a goal of I want to increase my net worth by 10% a year, it was kind of in that 10-15% range. And then it started jumping, and some years tenfold. It went
Wow.
up. And then I asked them the question, what if you consistently did something for 46 years? I bet all of you would be further ahead than I am because I don't think I'm
Yeah.
anything special. I think I just did the work consistently. Does
Wow.
that how does that land, Carrie? Does that
And it
make sense?
totally does, totally does. I believe in this book. I'll share here in a moment one link that proves it. But, I mean, you're right, in other words, if America taught this, may I be so bold, if America was teaching this in families, schools, churches, it would be revolutionary. I mean, don't you think that this is what the world needs?
Yeah. Yeah, and to that point, what I believe, and I've been watching education in Arizona go sideways and the country for a while. When I say go sideways, more and more money and more content is pouring into it, and yet on
Yeah,
average, the skills are going down, right? It's not working, and I think the reason it's not working is that we don't have a value creation culture within each family. The why is completely missing,
oh,
and
that's good.
when you start working with the kids around, here's a budget. Hey, where we want to save 10% as a goal or 5%. Calculate what's 5% of that number. There's 16-year-old high school kids that can't calculate a percentage, but it was never meaningful to them. But when you have family budgeting as a team sport and we say whatever we beat the budget by, the kids have a say in where the money goes, all of a sudden it means something and they're going for it.
That's good.
So I think that's it. And when you talk about the country, the value of doing this is the foundation of value creation to go forward. We're not even creating, in my view, 10% of the value in the United States that we could. Not even 10%.
Mm.
And so imagine if it was 20% or 50% or dream state 80%. That's kind of what I see. And, at my age, and I think, and I hope I've got a lot more years to do this work, it feels like the legacy part of my life, and kids today are going to be running the
Oh, yeah.
future to be incredible. It's like a play for humanity. And there's always like these giant forces that are taking value out of the world, and these
Yeah,
forces to add value back into the world and build
that's right.
it. This is never going away. It's human nature. And I just want to be this happy warrior. And I've heard that term from a number of different people, driving this in the right direction, and the kids of the future. So yeah, long answer to your question, or what you said
Yeah,
there. This is the future, and this is what we need to be doing, and
I
it's
think so.
incredible. And anybody listening to this, I encourage you to, read the book. You'll get the whole sort of story and how this was developed, and how to get started in your family. And then if you really want to supercharge it, join our dinner table family community by going to dinnertable.com. And it's an incredibly small investment at $30 a month for a huge return.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I'd love to see you there.
I mean, that's like a Starbucks visit here. So I got to land the plane here with this, Lee. Again, about a year ago, the day I said to my son, "Listen, do you want to go to Arizona and meet this amazing guy named Lee?" You guys had several talks. You ready to see what hanging with you created here?
100%.
So that's Keegan right there.
Hmm.
Can you see the video?
Oh yeah, it's great. I love
Okay.
it.
And they're doing real work. They're really getting paid. And then if I can share one more thing, I'm not even kidding. When I was reading your book, early release, I read the Christmas thing. Remember the Christmas light thing you just said?
Yeah, yeah.
And you tell the story in it. That's why I love this book. It's so practical. I hope I get this one. Where is it? Here we go. So I share this with Keegan, and I'm like, dude, read Lee's book here about Christmas lights. Guess what he did this last winter.
Oh, I love it. It's so great.
So, but I mean, that's what it takes. It takes getting people around this concept, and
Yeah.
then suddenly, like, again, like, what's going to turn a kid on?
And I have literally hundreds and hundreds of examples of kids doing what Keegan did after
Mhm.
interacting with one of my sessions or one-on-one for 90 minutes or less. And I get asked the question, why is that? And I think it's because I'm there with the kids' potential.
Oh,
I'm not
yes,
I'm not talking at them or over them. I'm brainstorming like I'm right there with them. What would you do? What could we do? Where could this go?
that's
And I'm not
cool.
is not trying to convey a concept.
Yeah.
Again, I think most adults talk at or over kids, and that's where
Ah,
they miss. When
it's
you're
like
with
you're
them,
giving them a seat at the dinner table,
no,
literally.
they will remember that forever. I remember a manager at Coco's, a restaurant where I was a busboy, dishwasher, cook back in the late '70s. His name was Jim Fletcher, and he was there with me. I'll never forget him. Out of all the people I work with, there's just a handful of people like that. Here's this guy
Yeah,
interacting with a dishwasher, making me feel like I'm gonna conquer the world someday. It's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great." And I went and I'm doing it. I'm trying to.
that's awesome.
So be that way. Like all the parents listening, be with the potential the kids are. When you
Yeah,
work with, be with the potential, not talk at or over them.
so good. Folks, Value Creation Family. It's just one of several of Lee's books. I can't wait for your leadership book coming too. But check it out, dinnertable.com. We're popping the link right now in Amazon. Lee, it's amazing. You're doing fantastic work. I love how you're not complaining about the world, which is what most people do. You're actually changing the world.
100%. One last quick thought. Does it feel better to be around somebody that is an expert on what's wrong with everyone and everything, or somebody that's creating real value with passion and going in a direction, energizing others to go along for the ride? The answer is obvious. Everybody can be that value creation person. Everybody can.
Love it. Get the book, folks. It'll change your life and your family's life. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, Carrie.